Welcome to the President's Desk on 96.9 FM KGPC and Peralta Television, where Laney College President Dr. Rudy Besikof speaks with community members, colleagues, and student leaders. This program is supported by Technical Director Felicia Bridges, who co-hosts along with Laney College journalism major Randy Cross and President Dr. Rudy Besikof.
Pull up a chair and join me and Felicia today at the President's Desk. Students, student success, and community are the topics on the table as we welcome back Laney College Dean of Student Success and Equity, Gary Albury. Email us at laneypodcast@peralta.edu. Like us on Facebook at Laney College President's Desk Podcast, and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Laney Podcast. You can also find select interviews and content from the show on YouTube by subscribing to the Laney College President's Desk channel. I'm Rudy Besikof, president of Laney College, a pillar that has been serving the greater Oakland community since 1927 and has been known as Laney now for more than 66 years. Amazing milestones we always seem to hit. You know, great teams are what it's all about. And in addition to my co-host Felicia, I want to send a shout out to Donnell, who's at the controls today, and then also appreciate Elena Sanchez, who books guests for the show, and Raya Zion, who chips in as a show contributor. However, getting things kicked off today is my fabulous co-host Felicia Bridges. Felicia, how are you?
Rudy, I'm doing well. How you doing?
Not too bad. This past weekend, I had an amazing experience. I was biking actually in Napa wine country. I went 65 miles.
65 miles? Yeah. So that means you're not paying attention to the scenery.
No, I was anyway. I go slow enough that, I can notice pretty much everything. But here was the fun part. We do talk about music on this show sometimes. I stopped my car to get some refreshments afterward and opened the car door, and, just it being a holiday weekend, there was music and stuff blaring outside. And I was like, wow, a DJ somewhere is really blasting Pearl Jam. It was not a DJ. Pearl Jam was playing in concert in Napa. I got to open the trunk of my car. I sat on the edge of my trunk for 45 minutes and listened to Pearl Jam. It was so awesome. And I could hear Eddie Vedder talking, and it was awesome. So raises the question, Felicia, last great concert that you saw.
Man, this is a way back, because I don't really like concerts anymore. I'm not big on crowds. But I did see Prince.
Oh, wow.
He was in San Jose, and he was just a regular guy. He had tennis shoes on, so he didn't have on high heel shoes. His hair was pretty regular, but the concert was phenomenal.
Okay, well, our guest today is not wearing tennis shoes. I just took a look, but he's got the sharp Argyle socks.
Right.
Gary Albury, last concert you saw, sir. Welcome to the program.
Well, thank you so much for having me today. I'm excited to be back here in the space, in the new location. This is the first time here. So thanks for having me. So the last concert I've been to, wow, it's probably been a while, probably since pre-COVID. I actually went to a concert, and I would probably say it was probably Lauryn Hill. Do you know who Lauryn Hill?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so I had the opportunity to go. Yeah, absolutely.
You can't sneak.
I was just throwing it out there just to see,
much past us here on the President's Desk. Yeah.
So yes, I would say that's the last concert I actually had an opportunity to attend pre-COVID. So I haven't been to a in-person concert since then, but it sounds like you had a good time at the one that you
But it did not become the miseducation of Gary Albury, right?
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's the name of the album. How's that?
Album. That's a phenomenal album.
See?
It is.
Got to get up pretty early in the morning to get past me.
There you go.
10 a.m., something like that. So, Gary, you are a 3-time guest on the President's Desk, and also you were on Eagle Eye on Sports a lot.
Yes.
So I guess, I don't know if we have to get you a 3-time pin or something like that, but that's in the mail.
Oh, that would be great.
And also, since then, you may have noticed I asked you to kind of think about what you were going to say today, because our show's now past a half hour. We go an hour.
Oh, that's awesome.
But
wow.
what do you remember about your first appearance on the President's Desk?
Oh, gosh. So I remember the very first time I appeared, I was chewing gum, and Felicia looked at me and said, "Get the gum out of your mouth."
No, you haven't lived until you've accidentally done a full episode and then been chastised by Felicia, which I had the pleasure of experiencing.
Wow. So that is something that I do recall. But it's always been a blast. Eagle Island Sports was always fun. Having the opportunity to talk sports. But yeah, that's something I do recall on my first time appearing on the show.
One thing that has also changed is at the time of the interview, you were Associate Dean Albury.
That's right.
What's your title now?
Oh God, it's now Dean, as you mentioned at the beginning of the show. Yeah, so with that comes more responsibilities. Of course, I wouldn't necessarily say more money. No. Of course, but it's an opportunity to increase my responsibilities and really be able to figure out more ways in which I can support the students in which we serve and the community in which we serve, which has been absolutely amazing. So it's been definitely hitting the ground running with the increased responsibilities, and I'm enjoying it every day.
What got you into being an administrator?
So I think for me, someone else has asked me this question in the past, and it might have been one of my staff, about why education as a whole, and then the administration question. And I always have the same response of, I have no idea. I guess I like just being up every night, not being able to sleep. And I would always tell them, when I first started, I had a head full of hair, and I know we're doing video now, so they probably,
yes, we are.
So they probably could see now that I have little to none, right? So I think that's what it is the very long nights, of being up, stressed. But I think the rewards of being able to just impact, make a difference for, like I mentioned, the students in which we serve, be able to sit at the tables that make some of those decisions, and just ultimately being able to give back. So I would say that that's kind of how I've been able to kind of progress in my career.
I'll rewind the clock a little bit more. What got you into community college?
So community college, right? So for me, I think it's really putting community in community college, right? That's the goal of the community college, to be able to support and serve that community. So I think that's something that really has drawn my attention to community college. I do come from a 4-year background, working at a 4-year institution, where you have that traditional high school, then they transition right to the 4-year. But I think at the community college, you have an opportunity to work with students from 17, 18, all the way up to 70, 80, right? So it's that wide range of support in which you could provide to supporting all the students and meeting them really where they are. And I know we hear that a lot of, how can we meet students where they are? But really, meeting that 70-year-old student that's old enough to be my great-grandparent, right? And learning from them, as well as while they're on their educational journey and coming back to school to impact their lives and keep moving forward. So,
Dean Albury, you are at the place where we get the hard-hitting questions.
Oh, Lord. Let me sit up in my seat for this one.
and you said that community college is where you actually put the community in college. What do you mean by community? Expand on that, please.
Yeah, so I think for me, when we talk about community, it kind of goes back to what I was just saying of really creating that sense of really addressing the needs of the students, right? I look at education, me on a personal level, and what it has done for me as really being that pillar to opening up doors for success, right? So with a lot of our students in which we meet, we are here in the heart of Oakland. So it's like, how do we address their needs? When a student comes through our doors, how are we viewing that to say, what exactly are you here and how can we support you on your educational journey? So really, like I mentioned, really being in the community, serving that community. What are the needs of the surrounding community, and how we can best support their students, regardless of their race, gender, socioeconomic status, whatever it may be. How can we really, meet those students' needs on a individual level, as well as just a whole. So, yeah.
What's been your most eye-opening moment this year, just as far as education?
So for me, and I think I'll share this story that we just had an experience. So
yes, we did.
Around this time of year really is eye-opening, because you get to see just the joy on a lot of our students' faces as they walk that stage to earn their degree. A lot of these students are first-generation college students. We had one gentleman this past weekend at graduation walk up to the stage with his daughter. So he walked up to the stage with his daughter, and I would say, if I had to guess, this student was probably late 40s. And it was just amazing to see him crossing that stage. And as he's crossing it, he's telling his daughter, who was maybe 5 or 6, we did this for you. Right. So it's those opportunities. But I also most recently had a chance to go into juvenile hall. We had a student that was incarcerated and really buckled down and earned his associate's degree for transfer while being incarcerated, right? So the president and I, as I'm looking at him, kind of blush over here, because I think this was a phenomenal opportunity for him as well, for us to go in there, really have to do the whole 9, being our background check, all those pieces.
Right.
And then, you go there, you can't bring no phones, your watch, nothing, right? So I think
you and I went together. What stood out to you most about that day, just seeing that young man graduate?
Yeah, so I think for me, I think it was when we were in the back room, and I think we both shared this, President, and the question that one of the officers came to the young men and said was, you can have some of your peers come and watch you. Now, of course, that's a moment of like, wow, here it is. They're all in this, facility together, and he gets to lead by example. So he was making a decision where he could have 5 peers actually come join and watch the ceremony. And it was really hard for him to just pick 5.
Yeah, just watching him kind of have to decide effectively who not,
right,
to have watch.
Right.
It actually got me emotionally a little bit. And Felicia, as you know, we've had Roger Chung, and we've had Elisa, and we've had Vince Garrett on the show.
Right.
And just one other thing I'll share about that experience is that once we got inside the holding area, we got to see a multimedia space,
absolutely,
that Restoring Our Communities had built inside the jail.
Yeah.
Right.
And it included a podcasting studio that you and I would have been jealous of. It had a sound booth, and it was really state of the art, next level.
Yeah.
And just really created impression. And just to see those colleagues of Gary's and mine interact with all of the staff there at Juvenile Hall, and just that level of familiarity that was there, and the fact that they were so present in providing college education to currently incarcerated young people. That was just something that it's a day. And I mentioned this as I was making my little graduation speech. I said it was a moment I would not soon forget.
Yeah, definitely. And the same thing for me. And I think that's a highlight. And I think it goes back to really your question, Felicia, about what does it mean community, right? And community college. And it's those moments, right, where it's like, here it is, this young man is incarcerated, right? But he hasn't given up. And he wants to make an impact in his community, change his life, let his family know that he's still, pushing forward, right? And for us to really be able to go in there and really meet students, meet his needs.
So glad to be welcoming back to the president's desk, Gary Albury, and you're tuned in to FM 96.9, KGPC, also heard at kgpc969.org. You've expanded from associate dean to dean. You're like that, that cub that's becoming the big bear, so to speak. Tell us a little bit about your responsibilities in your role as dean. What are the areas that you provide leadership for?
Yeah, so I think it's still similar to some of the things that were in my portfolio as an associate dean. So I have a lot of our learning communities. So as we were speaking earlier, I have Restoring Our Communities ROC. I also have our veterans program, as well as our Puente program, which supports our Latinx students that are looking to transfer to 4-year institutions. I also have Umoja Ubaka, which supports our Black African-American students on campus. And oh gosh, you're going to make me forget someone and they're going to listen to this and be upset. Oh, also have our mental and health services, as along with our welcome center and a particular, I wouldn't say program, but support service called SOAR, which supports a lot of our students as they matriculate and onboard within the Welcome Center, which is a phenomenal group of individuals that really provide that frontline concierge white glove service when students first arrive on campus.
Tell us a little bit about mental health services and how you've seen that grow and evolve during your time as dean. And I have to say, commending you that it most certainly has.
Yeah, so kudos, and I will be remiss if I took credit, but it all is a shout out to our mental health specialist, Susan Yee, who has an extensive background and years of experience. So once she came on board, she really set the vision for that area. We have since evolved where we've hired part-time mental health counselors, as well as an associate, as well as we've really expanded our internship program where we get master level students that come in and provide one-on-one support counseling for our student population. So it has really just begun to just continue to grow. And Susan has done a phenomenal job in ensuring that, we provide these services to support students' mental health needs.
If you had a crystal ball,
God,
and a ton load of money.
Now we're talking.
By the way, Felicia, Gary looked, as soon as money came up, Gary kind of looked my way.
So I'm like, look, I'm glad you're saying this. Here we go.
Corner of the eye look is one of the most powerful.
How would you bolster or enhance or add to your current student services?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things that we're just seeing around the state, and around the country as a whole is how can we really address meeting our students' basic needs, right? So you can never really do enough and never really have enough money to do some of those things. So it's like, how can we continue to really continue to support our students and meeting their basic needs? Because we all know, and the data has shown, how can a student show up in class and get straight A's if their stomach is growling while the teacher is talking to them about physics, right? So it's like, what does that look like? Housing, right? Emergency housing. That's something in which we currently don't offer. We are not a community college that has dorms, right? But we have a large population of students that are homeless. So how can we address the needs of that, right? Food, as we transition back in person more and more, it's like we can see that a lot of our students are, needing, to eat every day. So what does that look like? And then what we were just talking about, the mental health component, right? Which sometimes goes forgotten, say, but really being able to address our students' mental and health needs. So continuing to expand what that looks like here on our campus and within our community is something that I would say I would love to see. And you can never have too much staff. So really being able to continue to support students on the front end as they're matriculating into college, ensuring we have enough staff that can support students, whether it be completing their application, FAFSA support, just the whole admissions and records, troubleshooting, removing those barriers. And then on the back end, I would love to see us create some type of alumni mentorship program. So, our students that graduate, go on to 4 years or even go into their professional careers, being able to reach back, give back to the next line of students that are coming after them. So I would say those are some just general broad ideas that come to mind when I think about broader picture of things that we can do.
You mentioned alumni mentorship. What do you think is a key to having an expanded group of alumni supporting students?
So I think it's really, while they're here, emphasizing the need of, mentorship and developing that while students are here at the institution. That way, when they transition out, they saw the benefit of having a mentor, and then they're able to more willingly reach back and provide that support. And I think also as we provide services such as some of our events that we do in the quad, right, the food giveaways, really emphasizing during those particular events the importance of how these funds come about, giving to the president, funds that supports various different initiatives like
Nice plug. I appreciate that.
But really continuing to emphasize the importance of giving back and helping the institution that really has helped you. So,
as we sat at graduation, and I always think about this. It's very rare that a graduate will say, "Oh, I really want to thank the president," or "I really want to thank my dean." In fact, I've never heard a dean thanked. Sorry, Gary. But it's the staff members typically that have that day-to-day contact with students. And then also some colleagues that you lead are learning communities leaders, where we often find our alumni checking back in. That's something I've found that's so true. If I'm a student and I'm considering enrolling it, or maybe I've made this decision to enroll at Laney, but I want to get more connected to the campus, what are the benefits of a learning community, such as Umoja or Puente or veterans even?
Yeah, definitely. So it's exactly what you said, right? Creating that community. So with our learning communities, you get a lot of support. You also get a number of resources, as well as we offer within like Umoja as well as Puente cohort classes where students take the exact same courses. So you have that cohort model where, the same students that are in your English class will be in your math class, be in your AFRAM class. So really building that sense of community where then from that point, you can create study groups. You go into the village space. And if you haven't had a chance to go down there, Felicia, I recommend you go check it out.
I do. It's like
Eagle Village.
Yeah, down in Eagle Village.
Future remote broadcast.
There you go. Yeah. Oh, that would be fun. Where you just go in the space and it's lively. They have the TV going. They're in their study group sessions. They're talking about what's going on in the news, sports. I went in there a few weeks ago and they have a bead making workshop of some sort where they were like putting beads together, which was completely different. So it's different things where it's just that sense of community in which they build within these spaces. And you have that sense of belonging, right? Where you can go to a particular space and get that support, that help that you need on your educational journey.
One thing I'll say about Umoja that's amazing, and I don't think this is a coincidence, when we've had these end of year celebrations with scholarships being awarded, awards being given, among, I would say, at least 90% of our recipients, they were Umoja students in our African-American community. And I think it's really a tribute to people like Janelle Tillotson and Shanice Millikan with their leadership and the things that they've done. And I think it's amazing. And I'll also say this, having done my doctorate in a cohort.
Oh, nice.
Don't think that there isn't pressure from classmates.
No,
and I'll say this, and her name is Erin. I won't say the last name because I don't want to embarrass her too much, any more than I already have if she hears this. We used to have these writing groups.
Okay.
And after getting scrutinized by Erin would read my papers and say, "Rudy, what about this? And Rudy, what about that?" Whatever my professors had to say was mild compared to what I got from Erin. And I think probably it might have been why I got A's on my papers and the outstanding dissertation award and things like that. And
awesome.
Just being in that cohort model, I know that was so often the case. And then, I always remember as well, just being a student and then a grad student. Yes, your professors were awesome at times, perhaps at times not. But it was always the classmates that you would call on the phone at 10 at night and, read portions of your paper out loud to, or try to explain a concept that you didn't get or things like that.
Yeah, I think it's that peer-to-peer support, right? That you get a lot of times when things are going on with our students, right? Instead of going to staff, sometimes I'll go directly to a student and I'll say, "What's going on? How is such and such?" And they know everything that's going on, right? So I think a lot of times it's that peer-to-peer support that they kind of provide to each other and support each other, which is phenomenal. I think it's awesome. And that is one of the benefits of a cohort model and being in a learning community.
Absolutely.
I almost think it's the key to successful college career.
Yeah.
Just being a part of a cohort and just having folks cheer you on out of your peers.
Right.
That's the best thing ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, it truly is. And even today, and I finished my program in 2010, I talk to at least one of my classmates from that group of 33
Wow.
once a week.
Wow.
There's somebody, and big shout out actually down to El Camino College to Cynthia Mosqueda, who actually was the co-recipient of the Outstanding Dissertation Award with me. We were winners, and we were two of three community college people in my cohort. The other one was at Cerritos College.
Oh, nice.
So it was always very special. So Cynthia, wherever you are, hope you're listening and doing well. But
nice.
Let me ask you this. I know you were a student athlete.
I was.
Played football, and I know I teased you about your scouting report the last time you were on the show. But
I think maybe that's why I didn't come back.
What is it from that experience that you take into what you do now?
Yeah, so I think it goes back to the first question you asked about why administration and leadership. And I think I operate like I'm still playing the game of football. And I think you could agree to that because you're a former athlete as well.
Well, and I've seen you in action. That's why I was agreeing. Go ahead.
So I think it's that discipline that sports gives you. So I still get up at 5 a.m. I still go to the gym at 5 a.m. I'm in the office by 7:30. I eat breakfast. I have my day set, and this is just that structured lifestyle that is instilled right into you that you just never forget. And that whole team approach aspect of things, right? So being a part of the team, everybody has a role, everybody contributes to the ultimate goal, which is to win the game. And I think that's how I approach when I'm working with my teams, when I'm at work every day, that team approach of, well, here is the task that we're trying to get done, or here's the problem, here's the barrier. What's your feedback? What's your suggestion? And then we each, kind of contribute to that and then come up with the ultimate goal of how we can be successful. So I think that's kind of what I take with me, no matter where I am. And I think I just attribute that to being an athlete for a number of years.
I'm going to ask you my Neil Armstrong question.
Here we go.
One of the things that Neil Armstrong and I think Buzz Aldrin also said about walking on the moon was that after that, it was really hard to find things back on Earth that topped it. I imagine being a Division I college athlete, you kind of had that moonwalk experience.
Yeah.
What is it that kind of rivals it now or parallels it?
Yeah. So I think, so to the first part, I think getting that first interception, I was a defensive back, right? Getting that first one of your college career or your professional career, it's like, man, a lot of those guys, they get the ball and they take that ball home, they frame it, they put the date on it. So I think now in my professional career, what I look at is opportunities where students graduate, right? And then, they may not shout me out on the big stage, but they come and they say something along the lines of, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have been able to get to where I am today, right? So it's like those types of moments where it's like, wow, I really made an impact on this young person's lives, where it was like, wow, because of you, I was able to.
And Felicia, you would be amazed whenever there is some sort of event on campus, be it athletics or some sort of culminating event, a completion ceremony, something like that. I always see Gary out there.
Yeah.
He's always there. He's present. It's kind of like he's got the fist pump going and a lot of those things. Gary, can you stick around for a little while longer to chat with us?
Absolutely.
Enjoying having you back. And I'll certainly remind our listeners that you are tuned into the President's Desk right here at the Blowtorch of Oakland and FM radio, 96.9 FM, KGPC, also heard at kgpc969.org. All right. Well, Felicia, I'm very happy to share that we have our Partners of Laney feature. And as always, want to appreciate Raya Zion and Employment Services for providing this information. We have some interesting opportunities here. If you are looking to be a volunteer, the Oakland Museum of California, as well as the Chabot Space and Science Center, are looking for individuals to serve as volunteers this summer. Also, if you are looking for something maybe on the paid front, Firebrand Artisan Breads is looking for packers and shippers. The Environmental Protection Agency, that's right, the federal EPA is looking for multiple positions. They have things out there, especially biology majors. That's one area of focus. And then our very own Alameda County is looking to train and hire people to be health inspectors. If you have any questions about these opportunities, reach out to Raya at rzion@peralta.edu or give her a call at 510-464-3530. Also, as we transition at this point in the show, I'd certainly like to remind our listeners that Laney College offers one-time scholarships to students in financial need through the President's Office Emergency Fund. If you are a student in the middle of your semester and you've hit a bump in the road, maybe a flat tire, stolen laptop, something where you've got a little bit of need and could use a scholarship or a grant, please reach out directly to my office at 510-464-3219 or email me directly at rbesikof@peralta.edu. Also, a reminder to our community members and employees that Laney College, through the Peralta Colleges Foundation, does accept scholarship donations. They are tax deductible and processed through the Peralta Colleges Foundation, which is a 501c3. If you are interested in that, certainly you can reach out to my office again for any information, or if you're just curious about the foundation, give them a call at 510-587-7809, or you can email them directly at pfs@peralta.edu. I know that Margie Platero and Ricky with the foundation, they do an amazing job. Also, to our employees, it is possible through a one-time payment, or you can do monthly payroll deduction to make a contribution for scholarships, and my office can certainly provide answers to those questions. All right. So, Gary, the last couple of years, we've had kind of a special thing going here on at Laney College, and that you touched on it,
Okay.
which is our SOAR program. How have you seen it develop?
Yeah, so I think just for a little background, SOAR actually came out of our Guided Pathways initiative.
That's right. You were at the ground floor on the planning of that, I remember.
Definitely. So we really wanted to focus on that front line and removing barriers as a part of Guided Pathways. So what we as a college decided to do was to hire at the beginning two, I believe it was, program specialists that really would support with outreach to our OUSD partners, as well as in-reach by ensuring once students arrive here on campus, how could we remove those barriers, ensuring that they could register for classes if they were having issues with financial aid, provide guidance for that. So SOAR has really been a huge success for our campus in providing that like I mentioned earlier, that concierge white glove assistance to all of our students.
Yeah. How's it what are you seeing the most common questions that students ask, especially now, just kind of, 2 years fully removed now from COVID? What questions are students asking?
So in being in the Welcome Center, I think a lot of the things that our SOAR program specialists are seeing is just CCC apply. Once students apply, having the whole process of waiting to.
What is that? What is CCC apply?
So that is the platform that all California community colleges use to apply for community college, right? So they would go on that site and then would upload any information that is needed. And then from there, they will get a confirmation from the school indicating welcome aboard and here are the steps to enrolling in classes.
Yeah. What besides the CCC apply, what are some other challenges you find students are coming forward and asking for help with?
So I think it's affording college, right? So what does that look like, and how exactly can they go about affording college, various different scholarship opportunities, completing their FAFSA to qualify for Pell Grant, BOG fee waivers. So some of those pieces, I think are some of the things that I think they're seeing in the Welcome Center and supporting students. We also have a lot of students that left and now they're deciding to come back to school, right? So their accounts may have been froze, so they have to reapply and some of those components. So.
Well, right next to the Welcome Center, which you provide leadership for, now students can walk just directly back into the building for a different kind of help. Can you tell our listeners about that?
Yeah, so in the back, which is phenomenal, we actually relocated our tutoring services on campus, which has been absolutely awesome. So what I see, because my office now is down in the Welcome Center, is on Fridays they have something called First Fridays, where you would go in there and it is booming, jam-packed, and other days as well. But on this particular day, you wouldn't expect a Friday to be as busy as it is in the tutoring center, but they are moving. You have folks in corners tutoring folks. You have people on the board tutoring folks on the computers. And it's a huge, shout out to Jennifer, Gary, and the amazing work in which she's doing down in that area.
No, and the work with Dean Methmar,
Oh,
we've also had
absolutely.
on the show, has been amazing. And
Absolutely.
Felicia, I have to say, the one thing I love about our tutoring center, the sofas. It's been really a good addition.
Yeah.
And when you go in there, you see students working, and it's certainly not playtime. I mean, we're not going to say it's that, but you definitely find kind of that relaxed learning environment that perhaps we didn't have before. And I think that's something that's
welcoming, right?
I was going to say it definitely really sounds welcoming.
Where you can, kick back in and really get the support in what you need.
Yeah. So Gary, let's say I'm a high school senior.
Absolutely.
I just graduated. I'm not sure about what I want to do next. And maybe community college might be part of the picture, but just if I'm a young person coming up, what advice would you give me just about my next steps?
Yeah. So, it's quite interesting because now that I work at a community college, and I really emphasize the importance of the community college, as well as if you're unsure, go to a community college, right? You see a lot of students, they seek to go to the 4-year institutions. And they just may not be ready for that, right? So I would always push, go to the community college, knock out as many of your general education requirements, which will, kind of narrow down some of the things in which you may find that are interesting to you. We have a phenomenal group of CTE programs that we offer that I always advocate and push for. A large number of our students really enjoy our culinary classes.
That's right.
As well as, cosmetologies, another huge program. So I would say go to the community college. You have the resources and support that you'll need. And what I often see now is a lot of our students, believe it or not, after they graduate, which is funny because I just saw a few students, they graduated last weekend, and then I see them in the Welcome Center saying, I think I'm going to take a few more classes.
That's right.
So I'm like, no, get out of here, transfer, go get your bachelor's degree. But they're like, I'm not sure yet. I think I want to just get a few more classes in before I transfer. So we're doing something right, I would say.
Yeah. What about that student maybe that comes up to you and says, I just don't know what I want to major in yet. I don't know what I want to do.
Yeah. So I think I would talk to him from a personal standpoint, because I was the same way. I went to college and I thought I was majoring in football. I'm not sure what the major would have been, but something football, right? But then I found out they didn't offer that as a major.
What did you end up majoring in for your undergrad?
So my undergrad was in sociology because I wanted to go into the field of criminal justice. So I wanted to, believe it or not, work for the FBI.
Wow.
I was living in Baltimore. DC was right there. I actually had an internship in undergrad in DC with the federal government. And then I had an opportunity to play in Canada. So then I left and that happened. And then when I transitioned back, I just went on to grad school, and then it shifted everything. But yeah, that's kind of what
was there a moment that kind of shifted you from undeclared to sociology?
So I think for me, it was mentors. I took an intro to sociology class, and it was extremely hard. So I'm not sure why, because the professor was the chair of the department. She was extremely hard. We had to write like 5 very difficult papers, W.E.B. Du Bois, Karl Marx, so all these various different things we had to write.
Heavy hitters.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay. But it was something about her and, the way her teaching style, how she actually introduced the various different topics that caused me to kind of major in sociology, in the way in which, you see the world, you utilize it every day.
What's the one paper you remember the most?
So, of course, it would be something on theory, in which I think we had maybe 150 various different theories and even more theorists. And what this particular professor, it was Social Problems 250. You can tell I still remember.
Right. Yep.
In which she made us pick out every theory within each chapter. And then from there, we had to write the definition and provide a real life example.
Oh my.
So when we were done, she called it our toolkit. And believe it or not, I still have that toolkit. And I refer back to it often, in which we would utilize. So I utilize that toolkit. But yes, that's what I would say.
All right. You seem cool under pressure, but I'm going to take the white hot spotlight off you for a second.
All right.
And I'm going to ask the same question of my esteemed co-host.
Yes.
Felicia, co-host of this award-winning podcast. What's the paper that you remember writing the most?
I went to UC Berkeley, and I was a rhetoric major there. And I had a class, I'm sure, I think it was taught by Judith Butler.
Oh, wow.
Funny how we always remember the name of the class and the professor, isn't it?
The professor. Yeah. And I got to write a paper from the perspective of a philosopher. And I think the one that I chose was, I think it was Socrates. And I just wrote from his perspective. And I just found it, I got an A on it too. And I just found that was so much fun. Not even writing as myself and not even using my opinions, but using the perspective and the opinions of a philosopher that I was studying. And it just was very fun.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, I mean, I know I'm a guest on the podcast, sorry, but Rudy, you put us on the spot. So how about you? Here comes,
I was getting ready to ask Donnell, but I guess I got it. Okay. All right. Believe it or not, high school.
Okay.
The paper, and most people would say, well, Rudy, you wrote a dissertation,
right.
300 and some pages. And no, there's a paper in high school that I wrote, and I was taking advanced placement AP US history my senior year. Wow. And basically every 6 weeks or so, our teacher, Dr. Paul Tunn, would have us write a paper on either an event in US history or a person.
Wow.
And I was always fascinated by Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And, that when we had the three presidents on, I never got asked that question. That's actually my favorite president. And,
asked that question.
I was not asked. I dodged the bullet that day. But anyway, I was so psyched up to write a paper about him. And this paper was supposed to be 10 pages. And I had read a ton about him. I had note cards. I had this, I had that. And I sat down to write the paper. And I got from the time he was born up until just before he got elected. In other words, he'd contracted polio, came back. And even though he was not and think about this, like in the 1920s, not able to walk, still became the governor of New York. And all of those things. And I had all this information, and I hadn't even gotten to his presidency yet. And I was on page 17.
Wow.
And I am freaking out. It's the night before.
On page 17.
I call on a 10-page paper, and I call my best friend. His name was Leo. Shout out Leo Kropiansky. He lives in Madison, Wisconsin now. And I called him just in a panic, not knowing what to do. And he goes, well, how good is your paper so far? And I said, it's rock solid. He goes, title of your paper needs to be FDR, the early years.
There you go.
And that was my paper. And Dr. Tunn shooed me out for going over the page limit, but he begrudgingly gave me an A. Wow. So that's my story.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It was good. Actually, you know what? I am going to put the heat on Donnell a second. Donnell, could you step up to the microphone for just a minute? Our man on the board here. Donnell, what's a paper that you remember writing? Get up nice and close to the mic. There we go.
Actually, this last fall semester, it was my final research paper for English 5A at BCC.
Nice.
And, part of why it was very significant is because not only did I have to write this, I had a rhetoric essay and then a video essay due.
Oh wow!
Right at the end of the semester, and I crammed them all out in like 3 days.
Wow.
But it was, I believe, like 12 pages, and it was titled the creation and proliferation of Black stereotypes in media.
Wow.
And I had used The Princess and the Frog and Birth of a Nation as my primary sources and had like a bunch of other secondary sources.
Excellent. Well, Felicia, as you can see here at the president's desk that we are all listening to right here on FM 96.9, KGPC, heard at kgpc969.org. We're tuned in, and not even the board operators are safe from questions on our show.
A little bit of trivia about Franklin Roosevelt.
Go for it.
You never saw any, you did see any cartoons or any images. He was never in a wheelchair. It was always
one photo. That's all there is.
Photo. Yes, just one. I remember him at the mic, but other than that, they showed him walking.
What's amazing is when you talk about, like, at the end of his life, the Yalta Conference, where he's with Churchill and with Stalin, they're actually holding him up. If you look at the photos, he's got his arms on them.
Yeah.
He had taught his son how they could walk together. And then here's the other thing. And you think about today's media, this would never happen. Mm-hmm. He basically had the media buying in on not showing him not able to walk. Mm-hmm. And that was something that was just a different time. And,
right.
Yeah, and something
get away with that now.
No, something that was amazing. And no, it was so funny because I remember there's a Movie Tone News was amazing. They always had the black and white news kind of recaps. And in those days, people would go to the movie theaters to watch the news. Yeah. And just to see kind of the way he had like the media and the American public eating out of his hand, and a great deal. You see him standing or propped up in the back of a train addressing the press. And he's like, well, while all of you have been working hard and meeting deadlines, I was on vacation.
Wow.
and everybody's like, oh, kind of like that. And can you imagine Biden?
Never.
That just wouldn't happen. Back to you, Gary. Let's say let's say that you come back on the show in the year 2034.
Oh, God.
And I ask you what you've been up to. What do you think your answer is going to be?
Well, I don't know, actually. I think I'm starting my doctoral program, so I better be done with that.
Where are you studying at?
SF State. I'll be starting in the fall.
Are you doing
program?
What's your area of interest?
Educational leadership.
All right.
So excited about that. It's a cohort program as well.
Right.
3-year intense. So I'm hoping, or I better be done with that when we come back here. And then I think it's just continue to grow, continuing to support students on their educational journey, impacting the community, wherever that might be, wherever I am. And, just making a difference, I think.
Other than a really nice piece of paper that says doctor on it, what are you hoping to get out of your program?
Well, I think it's everything that you kind of spoke about earlier, right? Being a part of that cohort, learning. I'm learning from my peers that are also within the field. It's always good to get a different perspective. So the courses in which I take really, just continuing to grow in the educational field. And, that's pretty much it.
Well, all I can say, Gary Albury, is that I'm now coming to the end of my 4th year as college president. Mm-hmm. You've been alongside the whole way. Yeah. And it's been a pleasure just to watch you develop as a leader, and you've been part of my leadership story. And I again want to thank you for joining us. A 3-time guest. Let's go for 4 sometime. And
yeah, definitely.
Thanks for making time today. Really appreciate you, sir. Really. All right. Well, listeners and viewers, as we wrap up another edition of the President's Desk, we want to thank our listeners up and down the great state of California, from the far north in the 717 and the 530, all the way down to SoCal in the 619. Big shout out there. As well as our listeners right here in the 510, tuning in today from Lake Merritt, Oakland, Chinatown, downtown Oakland, West Oakland, East Lake, Fruitvale, Diamond, North Oakland, Adams Point, Central Oakland, East Oakland, the Oakland Hills, Montclair, Piedmont, and of course, those right here at the Laney campus listening to us today. And as we close up shop at the President's Desk, straighten those chairs out and turn the desk light off on today's program, Felicia, phenomenal job as always. Take us home.
Absolutely. I want to give a shout out to the Laney College graduating class of 2024.
Oh.
Great future ahead of you. Thank you for tuning in to the President's Desk, a program available on radio and podcast hosted by Laney College President, Dr. Rudy Besikof. It airs each Wednesday at 2 a.m. and 2 p.m. on 96.9 KGPC. To listen to the podcast anytime, find us on kgpc969.org/programming/current shows and click on the President's Desk. If you have a suggestion for a future show, please email us at laneypodcast@peralta.edu.